So today's session will not be of content. ठीक है? Content तो ठीक है. Primarily we will focus on structure. So basically what happens is this, that when somebody, like when people like who will be appearing in mains, right? In these few days, what they do is they focus on the demand of the question and how to structure those questions. So between friends, between mentors and students, what they discuss is that, अच्छा, this particular question has come. अब मुझे जल्दी से structure बता दो इसके, ठीक है? Content तो I told you, content come easily, but structure is important, ठीक है? चलो, shall we? Okay. So as we have seen that the first session is decode the demand of the question. Now decode the demand of the question means that primarily we are fixing the structure of the question, right? Primarily we are fixing the structure. So the session will entirely be focused on how to determine a particular structure of a question that has been asked by UPSC, right? ठीक है. अच्छा ये ऊपर जाता है. हाँ. So first, the objectives of the class. We will be understanding the structure of the answer, types of questions, right? How many types of, so I have gone through like last 5-6 years. I did not go much back because back then there were only one or two type of questions they were asking. Recently, primarily they have been asking three types of questions. So I have clubbed them and then finally we'll practice the questions. Okay? So these are the primary objective of the class. ठीक है? Okay. ठीक है. So first is, what do we mean by the structure of the answer, right? So structure, as we discussed last session, it is the endoskeleton that gives shape to your content, right? It's like a pot where you pour in water and the water takes shape. The water is the content. So structure is like an endoskeleton which gives it. So it refers to how you arrange and present content. This is the functional word, how you arrange and present content, right? Logically in response to a UPSC question. Not arbitrary. Like we'll take questions and we'll understand. So this part, logically, is very important. The flow has to be logical, right? In response to a UPSC question, thereby meeting the demand of the question. The moment we do this and logically give response to the UPSC question, we invariably commit to this. We meet the demand. So, first, we have to arrange and present the content. How do we do that? It's a logical response to the question that they have asked, right? For example, if I ask, what is your name? Your logical response will be, my name is, right, XYZ. Will not say that my father has kept my name this. That is not the logical reason, like logical response. Now, how do we do it? Now, if you have seen not off late, like it has been going on, this is the basic fundamental understanding of structure, that we give headings and subheadings. Okay? This everybody knows, right? It's very basic. Giving headings and subheadings to the answer, that creates a structure. Underneath we give content, right? We give content, right? So the responsibility when we are reading a question automatically should be that what heading should I give or what subheading should I give, right? Then we'll take examples and we'll tell you like how to do this, right? Okay. So I have to raise So why is structure important for an answer? Right. Let's see from various perspectives why it is important for an answer. Like from examiner's point of view, right? Like I have been checking copies and you cannot even, imagine 10 days, 15 days before mains, the kind of copies we used to get, right? At times, this part was excessive, pain wala part, because we have to find the content. Where is the demand? Where the student has met the demand? Okay? And what happens, अभी क्या होता है कि like if you are checking like 15-20 copies, like for us during mains exam, we used to check around 10-12 copies, and which is again very less. But UPSC examiners, they check much more. Now just imagine if I have to find content because the structure is very poorly made, ये वाला point it will go up. Right, and it invariably what will happen is that your marks will come down, and this happens. The more you piss off examiner, right, the lesser your marks is. So our job is to make examiner very happy, right? After 20 copy he has or she has visited, the moment he or she comes to your copy, like the moment he or she sees your structure, presentation, handwriting, content, that person will be so ecstatic that he will give that half a mark, and that matters because at the end of the day, you are writing around 80 questions, 79 questions, right? That half a mark matters. So here, the primary objective is that to make the life of examiner easier and like make him or her quickly check your copy. Now, why it is important for us? So she has written mains, that she has that experience. So when you are writing in that mains condition, that's the reason I've told you to write in that 35-minute slot, 1 hour slot, or 2 hour slot, even like 3 hours. So when you write in that slot, right, if you know how to determine the structure, it creates a mental blueprint, right? It creates a mental blueprint that the moment you read, you are so well versed in writing, in decoding the demand and structure that automatically you see the answer in front of you. Now, what you have to do, it's very instinctive. Your answer, your content will flow automatically. So this mental blueprint will only come when your structure is very easily decoded and is very easy, for you to determine, right? So this is important for aspirant. And the second thing, and this is very important. Now, bear with me. Now, this will be a bit controversial, but I'll say that it's not. The reason is this. I guess everybody has seen Topper's copy, right? Now, you must agree with me that not all the answers are written in the top-notch quality. That you have, you must have felt कि, अरे भाई इससे तो better मैं लिख सकता था, right? Like, thing is that you have felt it, but in exam condition, that is a different feeling altogether, right? But you have felt it. The point here is this. There will be question out of 20 questions, you will not get all the 20 questions familiar to you, right? So there will be some questions which will be difficult, which will be obscure, and there will be some questions which you will have no idea of. Okay? I still remember there was question on this demographic winter 2024. Okay? Like people can decode, but if that phrase was all of a sudden it was out of the blue, right? Now what happens if your structure is good? Now, believe me in this, even if your content is lacking, if your structure is good, to a degree, obviously will not get that good a mark, but it will, if your structure, you will get a better mark than somebody whose structure is not that well. So it kind of improves your marks even with average content. So out of 20 questions, because you're seriously preparing for mains, it is expected to by 13-14 questions, so you will know. But what about those 5-6 questions? Again, structure comes to play here, right? So that's the reason why it is very important for aspirant also. And now this is the most important part. Prevents deviation from the demand by adhering to the theme. Now, this we will understand very properly, and your entire answer writing, your entire structure, your aim to get into the list will depend on how you do this, how you determine a questions theme. The moment you determine and successfully determine the questions theme, क्या हो गया? अच्छा, it like your 50-60% of that job is done. Now the problem is this: we are taught how to write answer. We are taught, "Arey bhai, content likhna hai, content dalo." We are never taught how to understand and how to determine. Today we will understand how to determine this thing. Like how many? So you have like probably you have done classes. How many of you know how to determine theme of a question? मान लीजिए कि this is a question. Though the great Cholas are no more, yet their name is still remembered with pride because of their highest achievements in the domain of art and architecture. Comment. If I'm asking you, like, what is the theme in it?
Art and architecture of Chola.
Yes. Which one?
Art and architecture of Chola.
Any other like want to deviate? ठीक है. Any other what could be the theme in this particular question?
Mention briefly that why they consider it, like in the introduction.
So that will be in the introduction. So yes, theme is primarily here this one. Now what student will mistake, they will mention about domain of art and architecture. Actually, this is not the theme. The theme is highest achievement. So when you are writing your content, this has to be focused, right? So if we are missing out on this and we are only our content is on this, right? Then what you are doing, you are deviating from the theme. And answer writing is all about knowing this particular theme of a question. So it's not only domain of art and architecture. Like if you see Cholas, the kind of architecture they have built, it's like huge. The kind of artwork they have, the kind of spectrum of artwork they have is huge, right? But you have to focus on those particular areas which they have made mark on. But still, it's not over. So there is this theme, then there is this underlying theme. So what it is? So now, in this question, which one area will be missed by student? वो मतलब focus ही नहीं करेंगे, लिखेंगे भी नहीं. Like they will not write that particular area. Anybody? Yes, this part. Still remembered with pride. They will not address this part. They will what they will do. They will start with the Cholas, which they have to. They will give major achievements in art, major achievements in architecture, but this part will be missed. Now, there must be a reason, right? It's still remembered with pride. Iska to reason hoga na? There is reason behind the madness. Why did they give? We have to address this. So where do we address this? We address this in the enduring legacy in conclusion. Right? Why they are still remembered with pride till date? How they are remembered how they are remembered, the Cholas are remembered. Have you heard about this Tamil Sangam? Right? Then Saurashtra Tamil Sangam? Right? So, was this particular, ये तो 2021 का question है. Was this particular question in news? This theme was in news recently? Prime Minister went, huh? So, have you read that PIV wala article? Anybody? Read? So, just go and read that. Huh? So, newspaper. So, basically, it's a reporting of PIV. So, you can go and read PIV article because it's a very informative and it's an excellent article. Right?
Last year also there was a question on it.
Huh.
It was because of Sengol.
Sengol. So, still remembered with pride. We can also mention Sengol over here in conclusion. Still date. Another reference can be given. So, when Parliament was instituted, the new Parliament was instituted, how did Chola came into being? Why was Cholas remembered? Sengol to tha. Apart from it, the tradition that was followed was Shaivite tradition. Right? The tradition that was followed, you have seen those ritual was followed, right? It was a Shaivite tradition, which was primarily A Shaiva tradition that was followed by Cholas, right? Okay, so like again, so this is the theme. This is the underlying theme, and we have to address this also. If you are not addressing, then obviously you are missing out on your marks, that half a mark. The fight again today. The fight is with everybody know how to write answers. Today's session is not right how to write answers. It's like decoding your demand of the question, and decoding the demand of the question will help you that getting that half a mark. The fight is with that half a mark, right? Everybody knows how to write answers.
Can we do this part with village autonomy?
Village autonomy, no. नहीं होगा. I'll tell you. So it's a valid question that you look again. Structure means what? Structure means that it directs our thinking. Now village autonomy आप बोल रहे हो, तो basically village autonomy would be with regards. Can village autonomy come here? Will anywhere in this question village autonomy be addressed? ये तो categorically they have asked about art and architecture, right? Had there been the question been this, that though the great Cholas are no more, yet their name is still remembered with pride because of their highest achievements in domain of art and architecture, as well as in domains like as well as in socio-economic or political domains, then we could have mentioned about village autonomy. So look, remember one thing, UPSC does not want you to write what you know. UPSC wants you to write what the question demands. ठीक है ना? चोला के बारे में ना, when Chola comes village autonomy आ जाता है, right? But ये डिमांड नहीं है, will not write. ठीक है? Got it? Excellent. चलो, we'll see another question. Okay. अरे ऊपर. So okay. So this particular question, let's understand first. ठीक है? This was in 2019. So this question, there was this huge debate in Vision. Yeah, what should be the structure of this question? After this like paper jab aaya tha, so we were making model answers. So there was a huge debate how to structure this question, right? So basically क्या होगा? The basic structure, like off top of the head क्या आएगा? Brief context of industrial revolution, ठीक है? Just a second. अच्छा, by the way, what is the theme of this particular question? Theme क्या होगा?
Effect of industrial revolution on Indian cotton industry.
Very good. It's not industrial revolution. It's the effect. It's the effect, right? And okay, chalo, I'll come to that part later. So, because the theme is effect, we have to give more weightage to it. More content will go there. So, industrial revolution, responsibility for the decline of the Indian handicraft and handloom, whatever it is, right? Now, this will be missed by most. This part, other causes. Now, why? Because that person has not read or given stress to this. Understand? The question is not what was industrial revolution, how was industrial revolution in England responsible for the decline of handicraft. The question is what? Question is how far. Like if industrial revolution is responsible 90%, then there must be some other causes that comprised 10% that led to deindustrialization of India. So if you are not mentioning this other causes, you are not answering the questions properly. Yes.
If I read the question, how far was the industrial revolution responsible for the decline? What I am getting from the question is that you have to tell the extent of the decline of the industrial, handicrafts in the cotton industry in India. Not about the other ones. How you are interpreting this from the question.
Okay, so how, is very good question. What Ayush is saying, what he interprets is how far was the industrial revolution in England responsible for the decline of handicraft and cottage industry. So what he is asking, how far he is saying that qualitatively or quantitatively, how did it affect the Indian cottage industry, right? So that is also true, but इसमें content नहीं बनेगा. It will be very difficult to make frame content in this. How far? Up like maximum like 2 or 3 content you will have. India had 27% of GDP. IR के बाद क्या कितना percent हो गया? Below 2%, right? Then how far you have to come to this deindustrialization of India? How far? Qualitatively, what happened? That people, urban centers got destroyed. Karkhanas. You have heard about karkhanas? Karkhanas were destroyed and they went to farming, right? There are overpopulation in farming. So technically, when you are saying how far, you will be addressing that particular aspect of deindustrialization of India. You're getting me? So yes, but here how far is meant in a different way. How far it's asking that how far industrial revolution is responsible. This is the word, operative word, is responsible for the decline of handicraft and cottage industry. Apart from this IR being responsible, industrial revolution being responsible, there are other causes also. What are the other causes that led to deindustrialization of India, apart from industrial revolution? Huh? Free trade. Mercantilism was an offshoot. Shortage of food. Yes.
Nobles lost their power, so they could not give patronage to art.
Very excellent. Decline of Mughals. World War. No. World War तो early 20th century, 1914. So this is industrialization is late 18th century, right? So what other causes? Excellent. So decline of the Mughals. So patronage fell down. तो patronage fell down. Patronage के साथ industrial revolution का तो कोई ताल्लुक नहीं है. There is no responsibility. Number one. Second is somebody told famine. This is excellent point. There was this 1780s May, there was this Bengal famine, right? It is said that 1 to 10 million people were killed. I mean, like, obviously there were no surveys and data over there. These many people were killed, right? And primarily this was happening why? British policy. Primarily because of British policy. Now people will say, British policy, then industrial revolution and British. No. So industrial revolution is a different. So industrial revolution is what? It's mode of what? Mode of production change. Mode of production change over there, right? So you're getting me? So this so in this question, how far was industry? Obviously that you have to give more content on industrial revolution, how it was responsible, but you have to mention other causes also. Okay? So how will you introduce this question if I ask anybody? How would you introduce this question? Huh?
We can introduce by saying the major change in the mode of production. What got introduced by industrial revolution.
Okay. So, I'll tell you. So, have you listened to Shashi Tharoor's 2015 famous speech, right? Oxford speech, right? So, he said so you can start with a quote that England's industrialization was at the cost of India's deindustrialization. Is an exact quote. So, you can start with that. With respect to industrial revolution, the issue with timeline is that no historian as of now has fixed a particular time. It is the general consensus is that it's late 18th century, like 1760, 1770, and its effect was felt in Britain in early 19th century, 1830s, 1820s, 1830s, right? So timeline, so we can say late 18th century and early 19th century, we can give a very vague. Okay, but we can start with this quote, and if you see, the quote is also, if you see that British industrialization was at the cost of India's industrialization, and then we give this particular data, ki before that we had 27% of GDP, and after British left India, how much percentage we had? It was less than 2%. Yeah, it was less than 2%. The moment we start with this, when we'll be preparing industrial revolution, these are the data we have to have, right? It's very, very important. That elevates your answer, because you're not, and 99% will start with what? What is industrial revolution? Yes. No, good question. Like, that is a very good question he has raised, Anup. We have to explain it as if you are explaining your grandmother, like in a layman's language. That's responsibility is of a teacher to a student, not an examiner who is writing a question and answer. Your responsibility is only one thing. They have asked a question, I will be as direct as possible. Or they don't need industrial revolution ka definition. And 99.99%, like you go and check the copies, they will start with what is industrial revolution. Right? ठीक है? चलो ठीक है.
डेटा भी हमने वहाँ पे लिखा 27 to 2%, ये हमें अंदर बॉडी के अंदर नहीं लिखना चाहिए, जहाँ हम डेक्लाइन शो कर रहे हैं.
But यहाँ पर if you give, so I'll tell you, how does data act as a power booster? When you give an argument and we like defend that argument with data. So when Shashi Tharoor says, and this is from his book, The Era of Darkness, when he says the age of the industrialization of England was at the cost of India's deindustrialization, and then we give the data 2%, 27%, right? That elevates your argument because you're supporting it with data. Okay? It does not. So there are many other data you can give in your body. Okay? Okay. Like till here, clear? Like you understood what your structure is, right? Now we will go into the theme, or the types of questions. Now, tell me something. What is like when you get your when you're writing your answers, right? एक एक करके बताइए. Like, what is your first thought? Like, how do you approach a question?
I see the keywords.
Keywords, okay.
Demand of the question and then dividing that particular demand into sub.
ठीक है. Basically, everybody follows that, right? So, demand of the question and then dividing it into subparts. Now, it is easier said than done, actually. So, there are UPSC of late is asking three kinds of questions. एक तो है like the direct questions that they are asking. That populates your questions like more than 50%. ये वाले जो direct वाले questions है ना, so more than 50% of your question, like if you see 2022, 23 and 24, this kind of question comes. वो है direct questions. So direct questions means what? कि these questions demand straightforward answer, right? Like you don't have to identify the demand. They categorically say it. That's it. What is the phenomenon of cloudburst? Explain. अभी यहाँ पर मुझे कुछ decode नहीं करना है. I don't have to decode any theme, कुछ नहीं है. Like I just have to write. Right? Similarly, in this GS 3 2023 question, what are the direct and indirect subsidies provided to farm sector in India? So very categorical. यहाँ पर कुछ theme क्या निकालना है इसमें? Directly they are asking direct and indirect subsidies you have to talk about, right? Discuss the issues raised by the WTO, right, in relation to agricultural subsidies. Clear? So these are direct questions. एक trick है. There is one thing, and remember this, and this will actually help you. Whenever such questions comes in, direct questions. So this is a 15 marker, right? This is a 15 marker, right? Now, How many parts are there in this question? इसमें कितने parts हैं? Two parts. Sure. There are three parts. And remember this. And don't forget, and like whenever this kind of questions come, whenever they mention this issues, yeah, concern, yeah, challenges, yeah, problems, whatever it is, they may frame it as any word. You have to give what? You have to give recommendations or way forward. Yeah, like this is called the silent demand, right? This is not mentioned categorically, but if you don't give, then you are missing out on that 1-2 marks, which is critical, right? So here the question is not divided into two parts. It's a three-parter question. So intro about direct and indirect subsidies and their current status, right? Then you have to mention the challenges, which is directly they have asked, issues or challenges, and then you have to mention the recommendations, right? Clear?
Can you do the intro of this question? Second one.
This one, intro. अच्छा, ठीक. Good. ये मैं discuss करने वाला था. Like, what will be an intro of this question?
So recent ability or dispute, like that's why the question must be.
So if you know the current affairs, this is best way to start a question with current affairs. If you don't know, मान लीजिए you don't know the current, like the basis of this question, then how would you start?
Percentage of direct or indirect.
हाँ? 10% सब्सिडी वो तो like वो challenges में आ जाएगा.
Role of subsidies in farm sector.
Percentage.
Role of subsidies in farm sector. Okay.
Percentage of.
That can be a percentage.
Percentage of subsidies in the GDP, like
Data, we can start with data. Yeah. So it can be started in any manner. The theme of the question, we have identified the theme of the question. Theme of the question is what? Not farm sector, by the way. It's subsidy given to the farm sector. Now, acha, I was actually checking out an answer in this. A very famous institute, they started with what is subsidy. अब देखिए मतलब like is कोई logic बनता है कि like we are defining subsidy over here. Farm sector subsidy we can start, right? We can give data, and because this is the third paper, so your data, fact, examples, these are like sacrosanct. You have to give, ठीक है? तो humble request, ये subsidy वब्सिडी definition से start मत कीजिए.
Can you start introducing why subsidies are important?
Yes, somebody told, I think.
Role of subsidy.
We can, so that if you have to give, na, so you have to supplement data, na, वहाँ पर. We have, and another thing is that in this case we are introducing, so it should not be like more than 25 to 30 words. Lengthy नहीं होना चाहिए. Again, I think we were discussing last time. Directly come to the question, demand of the question. रोल में कहाँ पर आएगा? इंट्रो में बता देंगे, बिकॉज अभी बॉडी में देखो ना, डिस्कस द इशू, एकदम डायरेक्टली विल कम टू द इशू. ठीक है, 5 issues will mention, 5-6 issues will mention. After this is done, sorry. First we'll talk about direct and indirect subsidies provided to farm sector, right? So direct subsidies क्या है? So what are one example of direct subsidy? PM Kisan, 6,000 rupees that they give. DBT कहाँ direct हो गया? नहीं, DBT in the sense like what? Like I did not understand. That is a mode. That is a mode. अभी DBT तो farm sector में क्या? DBT तो is given in social sector also. तो question क्या है? Farm sector subsidy. नहीं, direct subsidy. PM Kisan 6,000 rupees they are getting direct. Indirect क्या होगा? MSP. Subsidy. Exactly. Fertilizer subsidy और क्या? हाँ? I did not understand. You like your fertilizer subsidy. Another very famous subsidy, like in like when you are mentioning farm sector indirect subsidy, you have to mention electricity, interest subvention, right? PM Kusum, yeah. So these are all indirect subsidies. So basically, like whatever you have to pay government is paying it for you so that the product cost comes down, demand increases, basically. ठीक है? Clear? ठीक है? So how मतलब indirect subsidy है MSP? Government huh?
Getting paid for something versus subsidy is basically they are paying less for something.
So basically what is happening? Is government paying the market price? मतलब like is government so basic in case of MSP what is happening? Technically what is happening?
So difference पे किया जाता है like farmers को between the market price
ये
and
concept हो गया difference पे
नहीं difference. So basically in MSP, so basically what government is doing that if नहीं सुनो if the particular crop does not meet the market demand or they don't meet that particular market price, right? So government is saying that I will buy at a minimum cost. So अगर that farmer हाँ
फार्मर को सब्सिडी देने का मतलब है कोई चीज को 6000 रुपए में है उसको 1000 अपनी तरफ से दे रही है कि तुम 5000 रुपए दैट इज सब्सिडी कोई चीज को कम कर दे
हाँ
एमएसपी में दे रहा हूं उसको तो मैं उसके जो भी क्रॉप उसने जो भी करा उसको क्योंकि फेयर प्राइस में मिल रहा है तो ये सब्सिडी
so subsidy तो like is government is paying, right?
minimum support अगर government देगी तो it is more
This government is paying, right?
price more than market price now.
हाँ, so it's given by the government to the farmer in order to make sure that the farmer get the minimum support that for the price for the crop that he has grown.
Because it is more than market price.
ठीक है? चलो, so basically the thing we have to write is direct and indirect subsidies यहाँ पर, ठीक है? And we have to mention the status also, current status, how much you are paying. That data has to be there, right? And then we come to the challenges and then recommendations. Because challenges are there, indirectly we have the underlying, the silent demand is that we have to mention recommendations, right? So even though this question has two parts, we have to understand कि if there is issue, we have to mention. Acha, in this case, what is the phenomenon of cloudburst? Explain. So this is geography question. How do you structure this? Obviously, in the introduction, we'll give the definition of cloudburst, right? उसके बाद क्या करेंगे in geography? So cloudburst is technically an issue, is a problem, is a challenge. ठीक है? For whatever reason it is a challenge, right? So recommendations NDMA we have to quote and we have to use this term, right? Like in the first paper right now, because they are asking there is this fluidity between first paper and third paper, like disaster management questions abhi first paper mein bhi aa raha hai. The thing is that we have to quote this term when we are giving recommendations, right? So directly ask for definition, we give cloudburst, explain the phenomenon. So what we'll do, we'll give the factors, we'll give mechanism, right, how it is occurring, and then obviously in presentation part we'll show with diagram कि कैसे हो रहा है, how devastating it is. अच्छा, another thing what we can do with respect to cloudburst, what other way we can relate cloudburst with another phenomenon, right? So we can relate this. This will again increase your value of your answer. ठीक है? चलो. Now we'll go to the most difficult part. Difficult part is this statement. I think like everybody has this issue with this particular kind of question. Okay. So statement plus directive, what it is and how to decode it. So you have a question, let's say. This is the question. Have you gone through this? Like, have you seen this question? This is a PYQ, right? Virus of conflict is affecting the functioning of SEO. Now pay attention. Now this is something which is very important and we have to understand. Virus of conflict is affecting the functioning of SEO. In the light of the above statement, point out the role of India in mitigating the problem. Now, in this kind of question, now this is very important. In this kind of question, what happens is this, that we don't address the theme, we don't know the theme, and because we don't know the theme, what happens is that our structure suffers. So can anybody tell me what would be the theme of this particular question?
Conflict between companies and learning of SEO. SEO members
90% will say that that is the theme. Actually, that is not the theme. That is a context. There's a difference between context and theme. Anybody wants to try? What would be the theme? Because your theme, mind you, your theme is the major, or your content will be dependent on your theme.
The present role of SEO and India's role in mitigating.
Theme is, yes? Theme is your, just remember this. Theme is nothing but context plus directive. Okay? For such questions, this is a formula you understand. Like, you will never get your theme wrong. There is a statement, there is a question. So there is this statement, right? So there is a statement. This is the statement. Virus of conflict is affecting functioning of SEO. You will agree? But this is not the theme. This is called context. Context means what? It defines your question, right? And this is the directive. In light of the above statement, point out the role of India in mitigating the problems. So your theme will be context plus directive. So context is conflict amongst SEO members, right? Directive is what? Role of India in mitigating this. So your theme will be context plus directive. So the major chunk of your answer will be your theme, that is okay. So what will be your theme? Theme will be what concrete roles, actions can India take or has taken to mitigate intra-member friction. This is the theme. This will be your major portion. This is the chunk of your answer. Now, what people would usually do, give more focus on virus of conflict among SEO members. Now your structure suffers. बताना है, right? Absolutely, we have to say. उसको तो बताना ही है. देखो, we have to. But theme is what? Theme is about mitigating the problem. We have to mention this. We have to address the context. But theme is something has to give more weightage. Clear? अच्छा ये वाला नहीं तो यहाँ हाँ. So this is what important with regards to theme. You have to understand that whatever theme is something that you have to pay more attention to. Your content will be heavy on theme, right? And rest of it you have to give less content. So in this case you have to mention about virus of conflict affecting SEO functioning. If you don't address this context, then you cannot set up your theme. But you don't give like 5. यहाँ पर तो you can give like 6-7 points. But this is not the demand of the question, is it? Is this the demand? This is the demand of the question. This is the demand of the question. So focus should be here, not here. Clear? This one, right? Okay. So let's do like practice another one. So this is question, I think it came in 2024 or 23. Let's see this question. Skill development programs have succeeded in increasing human resource supply to various sectors. Right? तो ये क्या हो गया? Context हो गया. Right? This is what? This is context. In the context of statement, analyze the linkage between education, skilled employment. Right? तो इसका theme क्या बना? interdependence of education, skill development and employment. This part, linkages between means interdependence, right? In achieving productive human capital. ये productive human capital कहाँ से आ रहा है? It comes from human resource, which is context. If we are just mentioning this without addressing this part, then are we addressing the theme? We are not. You're getting me? So it's a very simple process. We have so basically what context does is it gives you a framework within which you have to write the answer, right? So in this case, interdependence of education, skill development and employment, you have to talk, majorly what people will do, mistakes they will do. They will talk about linkages between education. They will like mention 2-3 points of education. Then skill, they will mention 2-3 points of skill. Then employment, they will mention 2-3 points of in employment. No, that is not the demand. Demand is what? Linkages. So your heading will be what? Your heading will be linkages or interdependence of education, skill development and employment. So this will be your heading. And then in the content, you have to address this part also. Productive human capital. You're getting, look, so this is what structure is. And if we think, if we are able to decode the structure ना, ऐसे सोचोगे कि अरे इतना specific content कहाँ से लेंगे? You will be, when your mains ready, you will have content. The moment you have structure in your mind, na, as I've said, कि blueprint will be created in you. There will be blueprint there and your content will come and fill. Right? Point here is that you have to know what you have to write. Right? Chalo, then only one section is there and we will end. Like clear this section? Okay. Now coming to the, so if direct questions are around 50 to 60, this particular questions they are around 20 to 30%, right? Last but not least is this kind of questions, pure statement based question, like what it is and how to decode it. Like pure statement based means they will give a statement and then they will write elucidate. Now how to do this? Like now this is again a kind of a challenging, but it's very interesting. Ye bhi like there's a process here. So have you seen this kind of questions? तो यहाँ पर क्या difficulty होता है कि किस में stress ज़्यादा दे? Where should I give more focus? ठीक है? In this case, question, the growth of cabinet system has practically resulted in the marginalization of the parliamentary supremacy. Should I write about parliamentary supremacy? Should I write about growth of cabinet system? Now, if you like majorly what students will do, this is a 10 marker. What majorly the students will do is first they will give a heading like this, growth of cabinet system, right? Then they will give 1 point, 2nd point, 3rd point, something like this. Okay? And then they will do, what they will do is marginalization of parliamentary supremacy. Like they will give another heading, marginalization of parliamentary supremacy. And again a box, 1, 2, something like this. Now what are you communicating to the examiner if you are giving this structure? Huh? Like you did not understand the question. You did not understand the question. The toppers copy like वो ठीक है वो मैंने कर दिया ना तो आप मेरा ये follow करो इसमें marks आएगा. Major like if you see abhyas copies and late copies, ठीक है, late copies in the sense like those copies which are written like 10 days, 15 days, majorly they have improved structure, very improved structure. अब toppers छोड़ो, मतलब आपको toppers होना है, ठीक है? So let's focus on this. तो in this kind of question, उसमें तो directive था. What was the formula over there? That ठीक है, statement plus directive. इसमें directive भी नहीं है, इसमें सिर्फ एक word है elucidate. So how to address? I'll tell you. So here what we have to do, and this is the exercise please do. First, so we have to read the statement very well. That too we have to do, right? Growth of cabinet system has practically resulted in marginalization of the parliamentary supremacy. So while you have read the statement. Unlike there, where you are using statement plus directive to come to the theme, here what you have to do is, you have to come to the theme just reading the question. This is a challenging part, right? I'll tell you. So, tell me what can be a theme over here? Just give a guess, what can be a theme in this particular question?
Marginalization of parliamentary supremacy.
So this is the theme, marginalization of parliamentary supremacy, not this one. So our focus should be on this.
Marginalization is because of the cabinet system.
उसमें आ रहा है. We'll be addressing that, right? So this is the theme, and this theme happen. This is happening because of what? Because rise of what? Cabinet system, right? And particularly in this form of government. Till last government, there was a brute majority for 2 successive cycle, right? Clear? So this part is clear, right? Now what we have to do, in order to write this answer, and this is how you make your answer interesting, and this is how you address UPSC, and actually address UPSC demand and show maturity in your answer writing. You have to identify this part. You have to relate the statement with this. Matlab, the growth of cabinet system has practically resulted in marginalization of parliamentary supremacy. It can either you can agree, or you might not. You broadly agree. Maximum you can agree. You partly agree in the sense you 50-50, right? And then you disagree, right? So first, if let's say that you agree, you completely agree, right? Then you don't have to write counter points to it. You just write about marginalization of parliamentary supremacy because of rise in cabinet system. Just write it, right? But if you see that, and most of the case, the question, in this kind of questions will lie here. Broadly agree and partly agree. So you have to give a counter argument to it also, right? So in this case, you start with an introduction, talking about what? Talking about India Westminster derived system draws the executive from the legislature and makes it collectively responsible to Parliament, right? Now this is important. Though the Constitution is supreme, Parliament supremacy in the Indian context means robust legislative oversight of the. So here parliamentary supremacy is not that parliamentary supremacy. Here parliamentary supremacy means what? That Parliament is exercising control over the executive. So you are addressing this in the very introduction itself, right? Now just a second. Now you come to the theme. Theme means what? You have to give more weightage. यहाँ पर more weightage कहाँ पर देना है? Cabinet dominance marginalizing parliamentary supremacy. Here you have to give more content, right? अभी I have given only 5 content, but 5 है बहुत सारे यहाँ पर 10-12 मिल जाएंगे यहाँ पर. But you have to also talk about the counter argument also. Why? Because I cannot completely agree with this statement. There are balances still there in parliamentary supremacy. So I broadly agree. So I am giving 5, 6, 7, 8 points. But there are counter arguments too. Why? Counter arguments how? So there's still existence of PSC. अभी देखो politics में नहीं जाना है, ठीक है? अभी ये काम करता है नहीं काम करता है, that's for posterity to determine. CAG scrutiny अभी भी होता है. CAG still lays the report, right? Question hour, 0 hour, private members will, which since ages has not been placed and passed, but still there is mechanism, right? So we will give counterbalance to such questions where we broadly agree. But because we're agreeing, broadly agreeing, which means that I will give more content to this part, जो theme वाला part होगा. Clear? Not clear? वो गलती से आ गया. Judicial review नहीं होगा.
इसमें नॉर्मली rise of cabinet system followed by decline of the parliamentary supremacy, and then you have the negative effects of this.
So basic, so what is happening? You are delaying the thing. वो हमें नहीं करना है. We have to like immediately, be it 15 marker, be it 10 marker, we have to immediately come to the theme, and we have to address the questions. So this shows the maturity of your answer. So I understand what you are saying. We will write, just I've given you example. We will write first rise in cabinet system, right? No. So basically what we will do is that cabinet dominance marginalizing parliamentary supremacy. This will be our core theme. This is the core demand we will address after the introduction itself. So what happens when examiner is reading your answer, he or she is not trying to find the content. You are directly addressing the demand of the question. Good question. That's the reason why when this kind of only statement wala question aata hai, to yes, like we have to check the statement. We have to test, do we agree? Do we broadly agree? Partly, and you have enough knowledge, current affairs knowledge, ये तो पता चल ही जाएगा कि we completely agree with this statement. No, obviously not. We have checks and balances. We cannot completely agree. Yes, we broadly agree because there has been erosion of parliamentary democracy. We broadly agree, hence we are giving more content on. We are giving more content in this area, right? But the thing is, because we broadly agree, there will be certain sections where we disagree. Because we disagree, we are giving here counter claims, right? But again, there will be certain questions where we completely agree also. Chalo practice kar lete hain. So for this question, constitutionally guaranteed judicial independence is a prerequisite of democracy. This question, this came I think in 2023 or 22. I might be wrong, but like, can we disagree with this statement? Constitutionally guaranteed judicial independence is a prerequisite of democracy. Can we disagree with this statement? It will be very difficult for us to disagree. नहीं, वो debate के लिए तो हम लोग कर ही सकते हैं.
Not the only thing. It's not the only thing. ऐसा करके
Constitutionally guaranteed judicial is a prerequisite. Is a prerequisite, ठीक है? Like there can be other prerequisites, but this is like constitution.
Other prerequisites.
नहीं, फिर तो that will go beyond the demand of the question, ना? तो but if you read this particular statement, constitutionally guaranteed judicial independence is a prerequisite of democracy. Like this statement is so absolute that you cannot, like, it is very difficult to counter it. Okay? So in this case, would we be giving some cons? No. Isme, like, we can't give any cons. Okay? So isme what we have to do? We have to talk about judicial independence is a prerequisite, how it is. The how wala part we have to address, that is a theme. And then what we have to address constitutionally guaranteed. We have to mention this particular section also, how it is constitutionally guaranteed. Article 124 se lekar 147, if I am not wrong. Right? We have to give certain sections like how it is very difficult to remove judge. Abhi jo ho raha hai. Right? How the constitution ensure that there is independence in judiciary. Right? So this particular part also has to be addressed again later section mein. Because it is mentioned pehle, we will not be addressing isko pehle. Because our primary goal is what? Introduction and coming to the theme of it. Ekdam directly we come to the demand of the question. Demand of the question is what? How judicial independence is a prerequisite of democracy. Okay, last, this question. The states in India seem reluctant to empower urban local bodies both functionally as well as financially. Yes, we have to agree and move on and mention constitutionally guaranteed because it's mentioned here constitutionally guaranteed. So what we can do, if we have like 7-8 points, we can do that also and don't have to write. We can just mention it in introduction or conclusion.
But we can actually mention that it's just not independence. Judiciary should also be made accountable. So we can mention 4 or 3 points there as well.
Judicial
एकदम ही independence is also not good looking at the legal system. It's not delays and pendencies.
So it's like
Lack of financial discipline.
So if you want to argue in that way, you can, but this statement is so
Which is fine.
absolute.
I don't want to argue, but I would just
No, argue in the sense that if you want to give.
these things
Achha.
should be resolved.
No, so you did not understand. Like what after this, what you are going to write? Like after mentioning the
Independence,
right. Mm-hmm.
But judiciary should also be made accountable in order for public trust to be maintained in the institution.
That is kind of confusing also. Like,
Yeah.
way forward, like,
Yeah.
confusing.
Judiciary is also not very sound.
But my point here is this:
I will
the
not-
major chunk will be this.
I will not disagree with it.
Huh.
But lastly, we can give some measures to help judiciary system.
Yes, we can have value addition in that way.
It's a very constitutionally guaranteed judicial independence. So can you also mention that it's not always necessary that judicial independence is derived from constitution itself. Non-constitutional means, for example, basic structure doctrine or judicial review.
Very good. This is good thinking. So this is happens when you think, yes, we can do. We can mention. So like it's not always constitutionally guaranteed. Very good. Like there are silent protections with regards to basic structure. Yes, that also can be done.
And judicial overreach also.
Judicial
adventure.
Judicial adventurism in this case, how are we fitting in judicial adventurism?
Judicial overreach in the sense that even that is not guaranteed in the constitution. But it still encroaches.
So this is a 10 marker. I don't think that we have that much time.
तो इसमें थोड़ा इशू हो सकता है.
You have to explain
PIL
it. It's so it
हाँ?
PIL is PIL.
Yeah, like reports, ERC reports.
So PIL.
हाँ.
We can mention.
नहीं, PIL where we will mention here.
Non-constitutional guidelines like PIL for some articles.
अच्छा. हाँ, we can mention that. We can so like what you are saying is correct. That judiciary is not sacrosanct, but we can mention it in passing. Conclusion में we can mention, right? But overall, if you see this statement is very absolute. We cannot argue with it. ठीक है? अगर इसमें हम लोग argue करें ना, तो फिर तो हो गया कल्याण. ठीक है? We can't argue in this statement. Like constitution guarantees judicial independence is prerequisite for democracy.
But what he said is also correct.
That yes. That's something which might not be mentioned in letter, but there is in spirit. It is there, and the spirit is held by whom? By the basic structure. That we can do, but again limited, because again theme is something which we have to focus on, and try to understand when I'm saying why you should do it, because when examiner sees that you're not prevaricating, you're not beating about the bush. There is this demand, you're directly hitting the demand. Probably he's the most happiest person on earth because उनको ढूंढना नहीं पड़ेगा, right? And you are communicating another thing. You are communicating that priority areas also. You are communicating another thing is that you know the art of understanding a question, which is it's very rare. It's very rare. Okay? And it comes with practice. I'm telling you. So those statement and directive wala question, and this only statement wala question. अगर आपको practice करना है, you practice this with your friend, discuss with your friend. This will only come with practice and brainstorming. ठीक है? चलो last. इसको ये वाली 15 marker. If it's a 15 marker, then what we will do is this: that first, so again, introduction, and directly we will come to judicial independence is a prerequisite for democracy. This is the major chunk of it, right? Then, as Ayush has mentioned, apart from judicial, apart from constitutional guarantee, there are other guarantees form of basic structure, right? That can be mentioned, and then consequence of this. Constitutional guarantee judicial independence is a prerequisite. What happens because of this? ठीक है, consequence of it. But that will be if it's a 15 marker. This is 10 marker ना, उतना scope ही नहीं है, right? Okay, last question. The states in India seem reluctant to empower urban local bodies both functionally as well as financially. Now, how would you characterize it? Fully agree, broadly agree, partly agree? Partly agree. Right? I would say broadly agree because more content will be that it is true that functionally and financially they are not being paid. Like they're not, like powers are not devolved. Right? So more content would be on how Indian states is withholding functional and financial devolution to urban local bodies. And then we will give also, like, because it's like broadly agreed, we have to give counter also. We can't say that 15th Finance Commission, we have given tied and untied grants, right? We can mention about those 2-3 points, but primarily it will be state withholding functional and financial devolution. And this is a major, like we have parliamentary committee also stating that this is an issue. Look, the thing is that your examples elevate your content. And if you give examples of certain villages, how like they have been model villages, and parliamentary committee report has talked about these villages. Even with this tied grants, how they have elevated their services, right? And if you give case studies, examples में case studies अगर आप दे सकते हो, that is even better. ठीक है, case studies in the sense, I think I was talking last time, कैसे करना है, case studies कैसे देना है, ऐसे like you just make a box side में, you write case study, and case study में what is important, proper noun. It has to be proper noun, right? We cannot just like in examples we can give like a vague, but here we have to be very specific about a particular village, right? What they have done, that is that. So case study means that, right? You have to be very specific. The moment you do this, and this is being done nowadays, like initially like case studies देते नहीं थे लोग, सिर्फ examples देते थे. Now the fact that they are giving case studies, they are elevating their answers. ठीक है? चल, हाँ. क्या I did not understand. अब हाँ, मतलब village if it's not urban local bodies, if it's like panchayats, तो यहाँ पर instead of villages we can mention about towns, or we can mention about municipalities. Case studies.
It's like urban local body or like specific like rural local bodies, हम दोनों के ऊपर नहीं जा सकते, like एक ही जाना पड़ेगा.
नहीं, if they're asked on urban local body, then तो हमें then तो case study तो वो specific देगा. I can't give example of हाँ, that is very important. If it's urban local body, then it's urban local body. Then it should not be like हाँ.
सर जो reluctancy की बात हुई यहाँ पे, वो in practice की बात है या policy making की?
कौन सी in
जो state in India seem reluctant, तो जो reluctancy है हमारी, वो हम किसके तरफ बात करेंगे, policy making या implementation?
Very good question. Both. The states in India seem reluctant to empower urban local bodies both functionally as well as financially. There has been parliamentary committee report जहाँ पर they have stated कि many states did not even जो state finance commission है ना, बनी नहीं, like second या third state finance commission है उनके, अभी आया था recently. Can you imagine? Like जहाँ पर आपका like 5 or 6 बन जाना चाहिए था, only second or third. So that is again both implementation as well as policy level.
But policy wise, this is states in India, right?
States in India, so you have to be states in India, so you have to focus on those states. जैसे for example अभी जो recent parliamentary committee report आया, in some northeast states, they have not even मतलब created this state finance commission. तो आपको वैसे examples देने होंगे. ठीक है. Look, again I'm talking about, so today is not about content. The thing is that if you start thinking about the structure ना, content will come. Content आ जाएंगे. And the kind of notes you will be making, right? You will be addressing these kind of issues in your notes. वो होना ही चाहिए, ठीक है. Case study should be like 20, 25, 30 words. उससे ज़्यादा नहीं होना चाहिए. Like it should not be very elaborate in the sense it should not eat away your time of your main answer. It should not be like that. Case study should be very brief. Just that case study will address the particular theme of the question. So the theme here is the states are reluctant in giving devolving powers. So यहाँ पर we can give that case study ki that recent parliamentary committee report have said ki these particular states have not devolved powers, and we will mention about those states, right? But because we broadly agree, we'll be talking about some states which have done really good. There we will be given ki kuch corporations hai, municipalities hai, where they have functioned. So for example, I'll give you an example. For example, Ahmedabad Municipal Corporation, right? They have brought out this municipal bonds, right? And they've done really well. So in that regards, we can give that example, that case study. ठीक है? I think Ahmedabad भी है और there is another MP में है, हाँ? Pimpri Chinchwad, they have brought out bonds. अच्छा. And I think in MP Indore या भोपाल they have brought out municipal bonds. So they are doing really well. ठीक है? तो those kind of case studies we can give. नहीं, इसमें like this is an issue, like this the states in India seems reluctant to empower. आप बोल रहे हो कि अगर we are saying नहीं, because it's not about negative, it's about reality. ये सही है, मतलब इसमें falsity नहीं है, falsehood नहीं है, ये सच बात है. और ये and this is not we are saying this, parliamentary committee की report है, like it's the parliament which have said कि states are not devolving powers. Even though there has been a push by whom? By Finance Commission. Finance Commission की जो tied grants है, what does the tied grants say? That you accomplish certain things and then we'll be paying you, right? And paying you for certain sections, right? To put like education हो गया, health हो गया, whatever it is. There is constantly there is pressure from up, but states are reluctant. Why states are reluctant? Like who will devolve powers? Who will allow the power of the state to go to the panchayats and the urban local bodies? It's very difficult to let go of power. ठीक है guys, ठीक है, चलो. Is the session okay? अच्छा. So day after tomorrow we'll talk about, like it will be a brief session on presentation, right? So it will be a presentation, like it's like nothing much, how to present your content. We will understand dimensions in the sense argument and examples, right? Arguments and examples, and how it vary from paper to paper. In history paper, arguments and example has to be given in a certain manner. In society, it has to be given in a certain manner, right? And finally, we'll talk about ethics in last session.